happy His Holiness Romapada Swami has joined us this evening. Thank you, Maharaj, for coming. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, of course, many of you know, most of you probably, Maharaj has spent so much time with devotees in New York over decades, many decades, spreading Krishna consciousness, encouraging others to spread Krishna consciousness, and helping devotees be organized in spreading Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj, so it's a blessing to have Maharaj share Krishna consciousness with us here this evening after a long time, and hopefully we see Maharaj not too long into the future after this. So I'll leave it to Maharaj now. So we'll have Bhagavad Gita class, then some more kirtan, and then prasadam, vegetarian feast. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I turned it off.
You turned it off.
I have one.
Oh, that helps turn it on. Okay, good. Is there anybody here that's new to this program? Okay. Okay. Nice musical beginning, yeah? This is your first time at this program? First time? Welcome. How'd you find out about it?
Meetup.
Huh?
Meetup.
The website meetup.com. Maharaj.
Okay. And you're a New Yorker.
I'm from Mexico.
You're from Mexico, but you've been in New York for some time, and 3 years, just searching, finding, exploring.
Yeah. I love to.
You're an adventuresome person. I met a person just like you about a week ago. It's just like, he's from Dubai, and he didn't know anything about anything, and he saw something, and he said, I want to learn. I like to learn. I like to experience things. So that's okay. Have you heard of this Bhagavad Gita before? Zero. Okay. Well, this group of people have been through the entire Bhagavad Gita over, what's the period of time?
Just finishing 9 years by the end of December.
9 years. 9 years covering this little book.
Finishing.
Plus or minus something. He's a university.
He's wrong.
He's an educated person that can have a different opinion. That's nice. So, you're coming at the conclusion. This text this evening is the essence message of the entire text. And so there's a lot that comes before it, and the verse says all that came before it, put it over here, and this is the most important thing out of everything. And you just happen to come this evening. And I just happen to have the assignment of speaking on such an important passage from Bhagavad Gita. So, do you like to recite the verse? Is that part of what you do?
Generally, Maharaj. but not
Okay,
required.
okay. Those of you that have, many of you know the verse anyway, and those of you that don't, you have a little handheld device of some kind or another, and you can look up the verse. And it's 1866. Anyone else need a book instead of your handheld device or your memory of the verse? And we'll start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarvadharmam parityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha. Sarva dharman parityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha. Others would like to chant.
Sarvadharmam parityaja.
Sarvadharmam parityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha. Sarvadharmam parityaja. Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha.
Sarvadharmam parityaja.
Sarvadharmam parityaja.
Mamekam sharanam braja.
Mamekam sharanam braja.
Aham tvam sarva papebhyo.
Aham tvam sarva papebhyo.
Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha.
Moksha yeshyami ma suchaha. So go through the word for word now. Sarva dharman. All varieties of religion. Parityaja. Abandoning. Mam. Unto me. Ekam. Only. Sharanam. For surrender. Braja. Go. Aham. I. Tvam. You. Sarva. All. Papebhyaha. From all sinful reactions. Moksha yeshyami. Will deliver. Ma. Do not. Shochaha. Worry. So I'm just going to read the translation and purport and we'll discuss a bit. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And the purport. The Lord, that's Krishna is the speaker, has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion, such as knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the process that had been explained to him, semicolon. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. Paragraph. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. Paragraph. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptritve varanam tata atmanikshepakarpanye shad vidha charanagatihi. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna as the only basis of his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes free from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna that simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reactions. And the final paragraph. It's a long purport. Hope everybody's wide awake. Okay, last paragraph. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the supersoul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and, above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma Yoga, empiric philosophers, karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, ma shuchaha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless. This is such an important verse, we could spend a lot of time. Class after class, and week after week, and month after month, and it's a very important verse. There are many verses in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita that are very important. Just some of you, as you were coming in, you maybe saw that picture on the wall, the picture of Bhakti Siddhanta, Prabhupada's spiritual master. This is a picture of our founder Acharya, who started the Hare Krishna movement here at this location. So his spiritual master, to demonstrate to others the volumes and volumes and volumes contained within these passages, he spent 1 month speaking on one verse for 30 days and didn't repeat himself any one of the days to the next day and the next day. Volumes and volumes. This is this type of literature is transcendental. It's of the spiritual realm, and it comes to this realm for our edification or illumination. And as the commentary says, previous to this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, many things have been explained that are principles of elevation. And those principles of elevation are secondary to this one principle. Say same thing in several different ways. If you, as mentioned in the purport, if you do these earlier mentioned things, not only nicely, perfectly. Who does anything perfectly? If you do them perfectly, it's incomplete. I mean, there's stronger language. It's useless. Useless in the transcendental goal sense. If you don't reach the goal, so I don't know. I travel sometimes. And it's important to know where you want to go when you travel. Supposing you go to Penn Station or Grand Central Station and you want to go somewhere. You have to know where you want to go because there are a lot of trains going to a lot of different destinations. And when I travel in China, Grand Central Station is like a sandbox for kids compared to train stations in China. No, I mean, it's just like, and I don't speak Chinese. So there's all these trains going in so many different directions. You got to know what your destination is so you can get on the right train and so you can get off. I was once put on a train by 3 or 4 people that spoke Chinese, and I didn't, they had to get off the train, and I had to go to a destination. I don't speak Chinese. I didn't even know where to get off. Fortunately, I found somebody not far from me that spoke English, and he knew where he let me know when to get off. Because anyway, you have to know the destination. And if you get on the train, you get involved in processes of elevation, and you don't reach the destination that those processes of elevation are meant to bring you to, it's incomplete. That's just putting it nicely. So what's the destination? I'm going to share another little story. Some years ago, the person that was in charge of the New York temple, his name was Rupanuga, and I became a devotee at a place where he was in charge of a center that was in the State University of New York in Buffalo, right here at 26 Second Avenue. Prabhupada would come 3 evenings a week and have kirtan and speak Bhagavad Gita and distribute prasadam, just like we're doing. And in the course of time, one man came to this assembly that made a request, or he volunteered some service to Prabhupada. He said, I'm from this city, and if you can designate somebody to run a center in that city, I'll cover the expense. So Rupanuga was selected, and he went to Buffalo and started a center that I'm one of the products of. And there were about 30 others besides me that came from that same university. And it was an interesting time without all that detail. And then some time passed, and I joined the Hare Krishna movement in Boston and came to New York, and then Rupanuga became the president. So he liked visiting colleges, and one of the things he did, excuse me for embellishing, but it's relevant to the topic. He was naturally bald. You know, some of your older folks, you may know who Yul Brynner is. You kind of look like Yul Brynner. Very stoic personality, very, like, you know, had a strong stage presence. It was his personality and his appearance. And his routine when he went to a college, it was really far out. He was like a man from Mars. He came in and he set out a cloth. He set a picture of Krishna. He set a little candle, lit the candle like a ritual, lit a stick of incense and rang a bell and offered the incense and put the incense in the incense holder, and then turned to everybody like, what's he going to say? And the first thing he said was, what's the highest truth you know? And everyone's going, whoa, where's this guy coming from? He had a certain approach. He had a certain personality. And so, truth, one sense of truth is, as opposed to a lie, you tell the truth. That's one kind of truth. Another kind of truth is you give your word and you uphold your word. That's another kind of truth. And then there's a Vedic sense of truth that means that from which everything comes. What is it from which everything comes? Whatever that is, that's the highest truth. And the Vedas are in search of that. It's given a pronoun. Tat means that. What's that? Om Tat Sat. So that is the goal, whatever that is. This connecting the human form of life. This is Vedic conception. Vedic means these books. The Vedic conception is this human form of life comes through the evolutionary process. It's not, a new Darwin idea. It's from the Vedas, specifically from Padma Purana, that says life evolves up to this human form, and in this human form there's an assignment. or a purpose of the design of this human form, and that is that having the capacity to connect with the source of everything, to know who you are as opposed to who you aren't, and to connect who you are with that which is the source of everything, including that which you aren't. Everything has a source, and connecting with that source. That's what yoga is, and that's what Bhagavad Gita is. It's a treatise on yoga. And this topmost yoga position is all of the other things are secondary, and this one thing is primary, and the others are secondary. So that's the goal. So what's the goal? Mam ekam sharanam. That's the goal. Sharanam, mam means first person singular, me. Ekam means one. And sharanam means surrender. Take shelter of that which is the source of everything. Because earlier in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has identified that he is the source of everything. Several places. For those of you that like Bhagavad Gita verses. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bodha bhava samandita. Chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita, text 8. You can go look it up later. It's a nice verse. He's the source of everything. And because he is the source of everything, those that know that take shelter of him. That's this sharana, means taking shelter. We take shelter of that which is the source of everything. That's our wholesome and natural position. And in that wholesome and natural position, we're protected. We're protected from the contamination of being disconnected. So all the preliminary things are to help us become prepared and qualified to make that connection. In the purport that we read, the first paragraph, there's mention, if you recall, in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Remember hearing that? So in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it's 728, where Krishna says, Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridha vrataha. One can engage in devotional service to Krishna, dridha vrata, with great determination, only if there's purification. The papam, sins have been cleansed, and they're only engaged in yesham totakatam papam jananam punya karmanam. Punya karma means pious activities. No more sinful, only pious activities. Such a person is now eligible. This verse is saying, not needed. Well, is it needed or not needed? It's an apparent contradiction, I'm pointing out purposefully. It's an apparent contradiction. Do you need prior purification and to be eligible to come to this position of devotional service, which is the means of knowing the source of everything, or not? And it's a short answer, keeping it really simple, because the commentary is pages and pages. I'm tempted to read some of it, commentary. But in summary, for those who don't take to the position of surrender to Krishna, it's needed. For those who do take shelter of Krishna in surrender, the preliminary is not required. It's taken care of by the act of surrender, and it's taken care of by the act of surrender because Krishna clears the board. He personally makes everything clean. Now that's an interesting theology. I'm going to say, I have so many things to say, I just have to get inspired and select the right something. I like visual things, so here's a visual thing. To get here, we drove through Soho, and there's lots of like big posh places in Soho that have all this big space and fancy looking chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Anybody here not know what a chandelier is? Everyone knows. Okay, so it's not just glass, but it's crystal. And there's many lights in the chandelier, and the light passes through the crystal, and it's a diffused kind of soft, very beautiful light. It's an opulence. But supposing you have a chandelier and it's not suspended from the ceiling, just lying on the ground, it's not so beautiful. But as soon as you connect it to the ceiling and then pay your electric bill, the lights on, it's very beautiful and commonly very expensive chandeliers. Very decorative, opulent way of making a room lit. Similarly, all these different elements that are described earlier in Bhagavad Gita, they're crystals, like crystal. And the one thing that suspends all those things is taking shelter of Krishna. They're meant to bring one to that position. They're meant to purify and elevate consciousness through various processes to get closer and closer and closer to that position of full surrender to Krishna. Our friend here from Mexico. Do you do any meditation? Yes. So, me too. Meditation has become a very popular thing in America. So I have spent some time visiting colleges speaking about meditation. And for many of the people, it's not 26 Second Avenue. It's really kind of soft and indirect. So of the people, how many in this assembly, 30 students, how many do some occasional, if not regular meditation, and at least half the class or more will say yes. And why do you do it? Why do you do it occasionally or regularly? Because it connects you with a place of higher consciousness. It's one of the reasons you feel different feelings. Mind feels more, but it connects you with this place of higher consciousness. And there's a whole lot to say about that. So at the end of one of the presentations, this was at University of Georgia in Athens about a week ago, one of the students, first time he had been there, he said, "You're speaking about this place of higher consciousness. My question is, or doubt, is when you get there, we'll call it it. Do you realize that it isn't really it? You need to go further and you find another it. Is that what the experience is?" And I said, no. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Unlike the ocean, even the ocean has a bottom, but the place of higher consciousness knows no limit. It's not static, it's ecstatic. It just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. It's unlimited because the source of everything is unlimited. Now, I wasn't saying Krishna or any just place of higher consciousness. The goal of the human form is to know who you are and connect with that source of everything, which is unlimited and all attractive. That's the meaning of Krishna's name, the all attractive. And one of the topics that come up in the meditation discussions, you can know from practical experience there is this capacity to experience the place of higher consciousness. But how do you stay there? By actually making that connection. That's how you can stay there. As being said here in very simple language, we all have our nature. We have a body, and we have a mind, and there's inclinations of our body and our mind. It's our nature. In the language of Bhagavad Gita, it's guna and karma. Everybody knows what karma is. You know what karma is. So we've done stuff, and we have our karmic nature because we did stuff. So here we are with our karma. And guna means quality. Some people are good, some people are mean, some people are passionate, some people are this, and some people are that. We have a different nature. That's guna. And karma. And it's the package. And so how do so because of our particular nature, we're inclined to work. So the message of Bhagavad Gita is, do your work according to your nature. Following the codes that teach how that nature can be elevated and channeled towards this place of higher consciousness, or towards the source of everything, or towards Krishna. Do that, and two things. That's what the body does, and the mind goes to Krishna, because the Krishna connection is everything. Making that connection with the source of everything is everything. That's the goal. Before you get on the train, make sure you know where you're going. That's where we're going. Then that's where Bhagavad Gita is taking us. And this conclusion is, all those preliminary things connected to this one thing. From this one thing, the chandelier is suspended. The value of these so many other things, whatever the other things are listed twice in the purport. But in the general category, it's dharma, that which is to be done, the duties of life. Connect those things with the source of everything through the means of devotion, devotional service. So I want to go. I'm going to do two other things, and I'm anticipating looking around the room. This is a discussion kind of an audience. So anticipating there'll be discussion, I'm going to speak less and hopefully discuss more. So this word sharana means surrender, and it's in the verse we chanted together, Mame kam sharanam. So this is text 66. We're going to go back to text 62. And guess what word appears in text 62? You guessed it, sharana. Tam eva sharanam gacha sarva bhavana bharata. Oh, sign of Bharata, surrender. There's the word again. Unto him utterly. That's this. Gacha. Sharanam gacha. Surrender unto him sarva bhavana in all respects. Like Prabhupada would sometimes say, what Krishna is looking to see is not what you're giving, but what you're holding back. You know that one? I'm making a sacrifice. Very nice. And what is it that you're holding back? Just like charity, it's not uncommon that people that don't have so much, they're more charitable than people that have a lot. No, some people that have a lot are very charitable. But some people that don't have a lot, they're according to their means, their charity nature is more than the person who has substantial means and their charity. So, what Krishna is interested is not what we give him, that's nice, but what is it that we're holding back? This is mine and that's Krishna's. I call it the two-pocket program. Krishna, Krishna, me, me. It's our mantra. So much for Krishna, so much for me, so much for me, so much for Krishna, me, me, Krishna, Krishna. It's called mixed devotion. And the goal is to just have one pocket. It's the Krishna. Everything is for Krishna. That's easier said than done, but that's the objective. And when it's everything is for Krishna, it's not that you're the loser. Now we don't have anything because I gave it all to Krishna. This is something we'll be discussing this coming weekend, the Thanksgiving weekend in central New Jersey. The teaching of Dhruva, as well as the teaching of Prahlad, two very important persons in the Bhagavatam. When you come to the point where you don't want anything, then when that position is attained, I mean, you want something, you don't want anything material. When you want simply this place of shelter in Krishna, then that person, according to our acharyas, that person is given an intelligence, bodhi, whereby that person can receive anything, the opulence even beyond heaven, the opulence of the spiritual world, and one doesn't become bewildered. Conversely, if one does still have material hankering and one receives the fruits of that material hankering, then it's almost for certain one will become bewildered. And one's intelligence will be lost, exactly as Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna doesn't want to see such nice souls get lost, so he doesn't necessarily liberally give things. But when one comes to this position of mam ekam sharanam, he can give everything and one won't be bewildered. He can take away everything and one won't be bewildered. Because my identity isn't connected to what I have or don't have. Ma may come sharanam. So that's sarva bhavana, utterly surrender to me, Krishna says. By the grace of the Lord of the heart, such a person will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. I'm just going to read up to this verse again. 63. Thus I've explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Because you are my very dear friend, I'm speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me. For it is for your benefit. So, hear with the inner ear. Hear with your heart. He's giving instruction that's the superlative instruction, the topmost essence, conclusion, instruction. Take shelter. Utterly, sarva bhavena. And then he has this gosh, there are 3 places in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says this, hear from me. And they're really important places. You ready? The beginning of chapter 7, the beginning of chapter 9, and here again. So, beginning of chapter 7. Arjun has this bewilderment thing that he's into. He's playing the role of being like us. We're bewildered. And what he really wants is to not surrender. Now, that, he's a pure devotee. He really wants to surrender, but he's taking the position of one who doesn't want to surrender. So he's finding some wiggle room to not surrender. First you say, this, and then you say that, so I'm bewildered. He's not saying contradictory things. Anyway, this is a long discussion. I don't know if I'll go there. It's a nice point. We get bewildered because we're holding on to our own ideas of things, and we're unable to hear Krishna's idea, Krishna's instruction. You have to let go, and not like be a fool or a blind person, but you have to be able to hear. And if you can't hear, if you got filters up, you can't hear. Arjuna wants to leave the battlefield. That happened in chapter 1. I'm out of here. And here's my reasons why. 7 really good reasons. This one, that one. Very good sounding reasons. And Krishna poked holes in each of the 7 and then concludes and says, this is what I want. And so Arjuna can't hear because he wants to get out of there. And get out of there means abandon his duty and be peaceful by going to the mountains and becoming a meditator or a mendicant or something. But he has this nature. He'll be sitting in the mountainside thinking, that Duryodhana. He's a Kshatriya. He attempted to kill my brother. He attempted to disrobe my wife. He did, he's done many things that are punishable by death penalty, according to laws of Dharma. But, I'm out of here. So, he can't hear because he has this other disposition. We have experience like that with other people. We may not have acknowledged our own blind spots, and we can't hear either because we're attached to something, a way of seeing things and a way of, whatever, status quo. And make spiritual progress with status quo. Row your boat, keeping the anchor down. So, if you pull the anchor, where's the stability? The stability is in the shelter of transcendence. One who doesn't have faith in transcendence doesn't want to pull the anchor. Or we're just so conditioned that it's even we want to pull the anchor, we can't pull the anchor because we're so conditioned. So therefore, it's commonly, spiritual progress is gradual, but the power is there within this primary and fundamental principle. So the verse just before this one we just spoke of, 1866, is 1865. And it's the one verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says it twice. And it says, it's really simple. It's not complicated, it's very simple. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaro. So these 4 things. Manmana, what you do with your mind. Think of Krishna. Bhava madbhakto, engage your senses in service of Krishna. Madhyaji, instead of worshiping Donald Trump, we worship or some opponent of Donald Trump, or your favorite sports athlete or music person or whatever. Some tendency to worship is there. Place that tendency to worship on the source of everything. Mam Namaskuru, and offer obeisances. Be respectfully humble before this source of everything, Krishna. Well, I'm not so qualified. That's okay. I'll make you qualified. And it's a relationship. This is how our acharyas. I'd like to read. It's really nice. Summarizing. Giving up completely. Parityaja. Tyaja means to give up. And pati means completely. Completely give up. Not partially. Completely give up. Parityaja. In their very essence, all dharmas, along with prescriptions, such as austerities to atone for past sins, just surrender unto me, Krishna, the Lord of all, who previously appeared in many forms such as Nrsimha and Rama, who is perceived through pure bhakti, and who destroys all desires, even avidya, ignorance, which is the cause of conditioned life for the living entity. Surrender to me alone and not to others. I will free you who have surrendered from all past karmas. And then here Krishna is showing what he's going, it's the relationship, what he's going to do, what we do. It's really simple. I mean, the principle is simple. Application gets complicated because we're complicated. Prabhupada once said, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and difficult for the crooked. You should not lament, ma suchaha, thinking it is impossible in such a short lifetime to perform difficult, extreme purifications which will bring about the desired result of purification of the heart after a very long time. I have just stated that in surrender to me, that's not required. Now, we do, not for the sake of purification, per se. This is devotional service in the mode of goodness. Devotional service in transcendence is simply because Krishna wants it. Simply because Krishna wants it. I came across a really nice, because it's been the Kartik month, and our members here have been observing, offering a lamp and certain prayers to Damodar. And there's a really nice passage from Jiva Goswami. No, you don't know who Jiva Goswami is, but he's a great personality who liked Krishna very much. And his deity was the deity of Radha Damodar. And so he loved Radha Damodar very much. And he worshipped Radha Damodar with such devotion, it is said, that sometimes he would worship with Krishna with such devotion that Krishna would dance. And then sometimes Krishna would play his flute and Jiva Goswami would dance. They were really up there in that exchange of love. He loved Damodar. So he wrote some nice verses in Sanskrit about Damodar, and he describes that in the spiritual world, Goloka, there was a pastime where Krishna was to meet Radha for some purpose, but he was late because in Goloka his family was observing Govardhan Puja. Now Govardhan Puja has its pastime here on earth, but in the spiritual world there's Govardhan Puja without lifting of Govardhan Hill and the Indra becoming freed from pride and all that. There's Govardhan Puja in the spiritual world. That's Nitya Lila. And because he was with his parents doing Govardhan Puja, he was late. So Radharani became angry. She wouldn't look at him. She was in her man spirit. So he tried to explain to her why he was late. And she was still in her angry mood. She wouldn't look at him. She had a golden belt around her waist. She took the golden belt from her waist and tied it around Krishna like a punishment. And Krishna was in ecstasy. Krishna said, "This nice exchange with you will henceforward I will be known by the name Damodar. And this Damodar name is so dear to me," and he describes ways in which it was dear to him. "And I will perform this very same Leela when I come to earth, only it will be Mother Jasoda's rope, and Mother Jasoda will try to bind me with her rope." Now what do we know about activities in the spiritual world except someone that's in the spiritual world with Damodar? So I can't remember why I told you that story. Nice story. We engage in activities for the pleasure of Krishna. And whatever it is, we like to do those activities that are pleasing to Krishna. We're conditioned souls, we're not so elevated, and so we have a propensity to work, to engage in activity, not just for maintenance, but we have propensities. Some people sing, some people dance, some people do accounting, some people cook, some people this and that and the other thing and the other thing. We have our propensities. And the goal is not just do your propensities, get some income, maintain yourself, get some children, get grandchildren, get old and die, and wave goodbye to everybody. There's a higher purpose. The higher purpose is this reaching this place of higher consciousness. And that's to do all these things with this higher purpose. But you have to know the higher purpose. And gradually, by understanding the Bhagavad Gita message and the message of the Vedas, again and again and again, gradually that consciousness awakens and we can understand better what the goal is. And be more inspired because we understand the goal better to reach the goal. And just keep going and keep going. This, when you get there, we'll call it, is that you realize it's not it. You have to find another, something, because you didn't reach it. Just keep going. The fathomless pursuit. The process is simple. The application is difficult because we're complicated. We're deeply involved in the material energy. So gradual purification comes about by the surrender process, but all the other activities that are also beneficial for us, we observe them. We don't reject them. but we hold them subordinate to this higher principle. And we keep association with one another to remind one another of that's the principle that we're in pursuit of. Because it's really easy to get distracted. In the next moment, you're distracted. And then the moment after that, and the moment after that, because we're not in the surrender position, we're in the distracted position. So the goal, just like in the beginning, nice kirtan, and the mind is kind of all over the place, but if you stay focused, during the kirtan, if you can see Kaliya Krishna's face, he's like really concentrated. It's really nice. I like his kirtans. And he's focused on the sound. Not just the musicality. It's musically attractive, but the sound vibration is everything. And same Krishna's message of Bhagavad Gita. The sound vibration. There's things to understand through that sound vibration, but to connect with the source of everything. And then what is it, and what is our relationship with it? How do we connect? How do we make our connection with Krishna? And how does Krishna protect us? So the last part is right in the purport, and it's in the commentary abundantly, and that is the process of sharana or sharanagati, the process of surrender. And there's multiple sources. Prabhupada writes it's Hari Bhakti Vilas, but it appears in Padma Purana and Vayu Purana and several other places. The very same message. There's 6 parts, which Prabhupada doesn't go through the detail of. He just kind of makes a smoothie out of it. Meaning, he takes the 6 different things, puts it in the blender, turns it on high speed, and it comes out like really easy to swallow. Very digestible. But we'll go, a little slower. There's the first 2 are things that help make that connection with devotion to the source of everything, Krishna. Accept those things. That's part of the surrender process. Things that distract you, and not, things that aren't favorable for making that devotional connection with Krishna, leave them to the side. Focus on the ones that bring you to that place of connected to Krishna in devotion. There's a need for maintaining, and see that your maintenance is not coming from your paycheck or your boss or the company you work for. Ultimately, it's coming from Krishna. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing because it's a fact. Everything, the maintenance of every living entity is coming from Krishna, including the people that don't have paychecks, and the elephants that live in the jungle, and people that have paychecks. It's Krishna who's maintaining them, ultimately, without details. The sense of requiring protection. We have bodies and we have minds, and they need to be protected. The real protector and source of protection is the source of everything. So take shelter of that source of everything, seeking protection. This weekend, next weekend, the next Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to be speaking about Dhruva, 13 classes about Dhruva on that one topic. It's going to be nice. And one of the episodes is Dhruva has a material want, like a really big time material want. He wants not only the kingdom of his father, he wants the kingdom better than his father's father's father. He's like a little boy, 6 years old, wants his big kingdom. Stomping his foot, I want a kingdom. But he's serious about it. And so his mother is a pure devotee. She's not like just a nice lady or a good mother. She's a pure devotee, evidenced by how she responds. She being an excellent mother, she understands the nature of her son. Their son is not going to take no for an answer, or pat on the head for an answer. Her son is very determined, her little boy, and he wants his kingdom. And so, skipping many nice things, she says, the way to get what you want, the only way I know, is from that which is the source of everything, Vishnu. Because what you're asking for is out of this world, literally, not only figuratively. But that which is out of this world is Vishnu. So to get what you want, you have to go to Vishnu. There isn't another way. And the lotus feet of Vishnu are so wonderful. Your great-great-grandfather, Brahma, the engineer of the universe, he got his power from Vishnu. And your grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, he got his power from Vishnu, and you want something greater than both of them. You got to go to Vishnu. You got to go to, and the lotus feet of Krishna, she describes the sweetness and the mercy and the serenity and the coolness and the soothingness of his lotus feet. So, connect with Vishnu. He listens. He has all confidence in his mother because he knows that she's very wise, and she knows that she knows him, and she knows that she's his well-wisher. So, where do I find Vishnu? Well, I'm just a woman in the palace. I don't know, but many great personalities, they go to the forest and somehow they find Vishnu. He said, great, I'm going to the forest. Little boy going to the forest. And she lets him go. It's against motherhood, those of you that have children. 5-6-year-old boy going off to the forest, didn't even take his lunch bag with him. It's like, you don't do that. Mothers don't do that. But she did that because she had all faith that Vishnu would protect him. Knowing his mood, knowing his indomitable determination to connect with Vishnu, Vishnu would protect him. So she was the best of mothers. And when he was off in the forest, the father was in total anxiety. She was very peaceful because she knew Vishnu would protect him. And she was praying to Vishnu all the time, please protect him. But, not that he wouldn't if she didn't pray, but that was just her mood, her relationship. So those who have that mood can pass that mood on to others. Negative. If you don't have that mood, you can't pass that mood on to others. You can't give to people what you don't have. Srila Prabhupada came here with that mood, and he gave it to others. And, Mission Impossible was like, for sure, not impossible. I'll just give one example because it sticks out in my mind. There was a professor somewhere in Pennsylvania that the devotees had met. I forget his name, but he's interviewed in one of those biographies of Prabhupada's life, whatever you call those things, documentaries. So this professor is being interviewed by the cameraman and the speaker. I met some of the members that started right here at 26 2nd Avenue, and he said that my spiritual master instructed me to start a Back to Godhead magazine. And the professor said, do you know anything about magazine publication other than reading one? I said, no. Then he was wondering, how is this going to be possible? Because it's not easy to do something like that. But then the professor said, when I came to New York and I met Prabhupada, then I understood. Because Mission Impossible, there was no such word for one who has faith in Guru, and Krishna. Impossible is the word in the Fool's Dictionary, Prabhupada would say. So the possible not only became possible, became manifest by the conviction that Prabhupada was carrying of being fully surrendered to the source of everything, to Krishna. Because he had it, he could pass it on. And he did. And kaboom, explosion. Hare Krishna explosion. And the words of that same personality are here in his Bhagavad Gita. So carefully read and discuss with one another the message of Bhagavad Gita. Receive that confidence that you take shelter of Krishna. Yeah, I just want to read one other thing. There's so many things I wanted to read. This is a paraphrase of this taking shelter of Sharanagati. I will free you from all sinful reactions. This is commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti. From whatever reactions exist, from the past, far past, and recent past, and from whatever reactions arise from acts I will make you perform in the future. This is not impossible for me to do, though it cannot be done by anyone else to whom you surrender. Taking you as the means, I'm giving instructions to the whole world. So it's like, okay, that's good for Arjuna, but I'm too fallen, I'm too insignificant, I'm a nobody. No. May you and all other people, giving up all dharmas, your own and everyone else's, absorbing your thoughts and actions in me, surrendering to me, remain in contentment. I myself have accepted the burden of freeing you from the bondage of birth and death. And don't think, oh, it's so much a burden upon you, I don't want to dump all my stuff on you. Don't worry, I can handle it. That's what I mean. Here's what he says. It is no strain at all for me, who am most affectionate to my devotee. Nothing else remains to be instructed. So it's the conclusion of the whole Bhagavad Gita's message. And a few more verses, and you're going to have to go back to chapter 1, I guess, huh? So any discussion? I've been talking a lot. Yes, Merlin?
So you were contrasting that verse, Yesham Tanantam Papam, with the Sarvadharma verse.
Yeah.
So if you surrender, then the idea that you have to be purified in order to be Dritavrata is not there. You have to surrender. But we see practically devotees sincerely surrender and then stumble or fall away. And they're not engaging Dritavrata in devotional service.
Yes, that's right. So, what to do? Why is that happening? Slackening of submission is Bhaktisiddhanta's answer. Submission brings that connection, and when submission slackens, Bhaktisiddhanta explains, then the protection isn't there anymore. Protection is there for one who submits, one who takes that position of Sharanagati. So then, okay, I did my Sharanagati, now it's enjoyment time. Then that same protection isn't there. When the modes of nature and one's past guna and karma start to act up again. That's what happens. That's why it happens.
Therefore, it's a constant process.
Yeah, it's not an event. It's a process. Yes. Yes. An association will help stay with the process. Hearing and chanting regularly, even in your own home without coming to gatherings like this, it will help you stay involved, deepening the process, going to that place of higher consciousness and staying there. Somebody else. good thing. I spoke more than I had thought I was going to. Yes.
You were mentioning about, is it audible?
Inaudible?
No. Am I audible? Can you
Yes, I can hear you.
You were mentioning about the two-pocket program,
Yeah.
but
But
does it mean that a pure devotee does not have any needs? Or when I'm saying, okay, it's my pocket, but then it's actually my need, wherein if I don't attend to that need, I cannot serve Krishna.
okay.
So
Then so by your very words, you have explained the one pocket program. That is, those needs are for the purpose of serving Krishna. Let's just say, eating. That's a need. So we eat for Krishna. There's eating where I don't eat for Krishna. There's eating where I eat for the purpose of giving strength to the body. And I choose foods mindfully, the mindfulness slogan, where it's for the pleasure of Krishna. It's going to help me maintain good health. So I need to know what are good foods to maintain my health, because I want to continue on for some time in serving Krishna. Unless he chooses that I should go somewhere else, leave my body and go serve him some other place. But while I have this body, and then, the same with the mind, attend to your needs, know what your needs are, and attend to them in the mood of to enhance the service to Krishna and the pleasure of Krishna. Do it in that mood. That's the one pocket program. Let's just see.
Any of the younger devotees?
One thing I've learned is to be very patient. So I see another hand, but we'll just be really patient till you raise your hand. Not uncomfortable, just patient. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You were talking about, if you're going to get on a train, you need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get on a train and know where we're going and then decide that we want to go on that train. And that train, because maybe in the process, your consciousness will clear and you decide, I think this might be better for me.
Sure. So that topic has a label, in my view, called liminal space. You've heard me speak about liminal space?
I'm not sure.
Liminal space. A limen, it's like there's the door, and if you look at the bottom of the door, I'm sure there's a limen. That's a carpentry term. Something that's here's inside and there's outside, and that which divides the inside and the outside is a limen. And there's other examples in architecture and in social change and in personal life. It's in between where we are and where we want to go. So if you have an idea of where you want to go, and you're in the transition between where you are and where you want to go, you got on a train, and you're, because of the process of bhakti itself, the light went on saying, the trains are nice, but the train I'd like to go on is more like that one over there. Mm-hmm. No, so you have to do, is it my mind, or is it a higher principle? That's a big one. So have people that guide you. That's good. Read and hear the message of Bhagavad Gita regularly. That will help you. So taking those other resources, if the conclusion is reached, this is really a good idea that I move from this trajectory to that one, then be ready for some discomfort, because that's what liminal space feels like. It's uncomfortable. And do it gradually, because you go in a certain direction. There's some guna and karma reasons why you went in that direction, and it's really hard to change guna and karma just by saying, I want to go over there. So you do it gradually. You know, whether it's occupation or relationships or whatever it is, that to go from this to that, advisable. Don't do them in quantum leaps or like impulsive. Do it gradually, and test the waters as you go along, because then it's less uncomfortable, and you're more likely to get clarity of intelligence than negative emotion onslaught in making that transition. Being so uncomfortable, if you get about everything except dealing with the discomfort. So that's the words of an incrementalist. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was like that. So you reset your directional compass and periodically check in. But you and that means not only how you're getting towards your goal, but refine your sense of what the goal is, the destination that you want to get to, even if it's an intermediate one. And make sure, really important, is it in alignment with the final goal? Or if not, then it's the mind, for sure. Going like the pendulum goes way over here and goes way over there. The mind has a tendency to do those things. So we have to be cautious, not be ruled by our mind. We want to be in the moment but not ruled by it. The moment of the mind. No, that's you'll get seasick. Yes, Merlin.
So the point in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna establishes the point is to surrender. To surrender to Him.
Yes.
The practical application of that surrender, I think, is explain the 9 processes of bhakti.
Yes.
So how does a follower of bhakti, the bhakti process, link up to one of those processes, or at least one of them? How is that made? How is that connection made so that the person can feel very like I can do this, as opposed to this is too confusing or too difficult? Because that's why the 9 processes of bhakti are given to us, is so that we can link to at least one of them, so we can channel our consciousness in that way and develop bhakti.
Yeah. Okay. Those of us that got here early, it was really cold in here, but now it's a little warm. Yeah, well, the warm bodies, but this little doodad is. So I just thinking about how cold it was when we first got. It's like being outdoors. So back to your question. Start with Shravanam Kirtanam. While any one of the 9 processes, this is Jiva Goswami, Bhakti Sandarbha. Although there's 9 processes, one of them is most essential, and that's chanting. Preliminary to chanting is hearing. So you have to hear before you chant, but engage in chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting. And that will give you insight, because of Chaita Darpana Marjanam, the cleansing of the mirror of the heart, or the mirror of the mind, to make way for the intelligence to guide your activity. Which of the processes of bhakti are suited most for you and your nature, and the contribution you can make in this lifetime. And don't go away from the hearing and chanting and become absorbed in something else, because the foundation for them is hearing and chanting, and even especially is chanting. It's a very lengthy section. If you want the philosophy, go to Bhakti Sandarbha and you can read. and his explanation of that. But that's in an essence, faith in the hearing and chanting process. Doing with faith, not just doing. Like, hear from me, as Krishna. So hear from, when Krishna is speaking, saying hear from me, he's speaking to you. Hear with that kind of ear. Krishna is speaking to me, because it's your best interest. Oh, here's somebody who knows, and they really want my best interest. Let me hear carefully. That kind of hearing. And chanting. Yes.
I have a question about devotee offer their activities for every day for Krishna, what would do something. Because if you're not pure devotee, I can't offer my activities for all day, for offer for Krishna.
Yes?
Yes?
Oh, yes. Not only
If
can.
a pure devotee maybe no offer. If you're not pure devotee, I can offer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not good for me because I do something, I think, I will be offered because this is not good. But I think this is everything for Krishna, and activities, everything energy for Krishna.
Yes.
I give him.
Now, everything connected with Krishna for us has some boundaries. Let's say alcohol. I'm not saying you, I'm saying for a devotee there's some boundaries. Well, everything comes from Krishna.
Yeah. I understand.
So we have boundaries. But within those boundaries, we may be doing some things that are uncomfortable. And we may not like, I'd like the whole world to see me doing this because I really think it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, I'm thinking of the profession that you have. So, gosh, but you're in a professional situation because it's needed not just so you can pay the utilities and your rent and maintain your this temporary body, but the higher principle is so you can go on with your service to Krishna in ways that you uniquely can serve Krishna for his pleasure. That's what's behind the occupational activities. Now, that's not an easy conscience to develop because depending upon different devotees' professions, may be very demanding, very taxing. The people in the workplace are really nasty, and yada, yada, yada. But that consciousness must be at the center for the life of a progressive devotee. And the hearing and chanting is essential to keep nourishing that. And association, sadhu sangha, to keep nourishing that. And keep nourishing it. And as that consciousness arises, that place of higher consciousness arises within you, then you'll be better able to draw a line and say, here's some area I'm just not going to do. Somehow. I mean, without going into the details of what your occupation requires of you. But that's from a place of higher consciousness, not from a place of good and bad and right and wrong and all that. It's bhakti, what's pleasing to Krishna. Do it from that place, and there'll be strength and protection. Yeah? Anybody out there in the balcony seats? No? Remember, I'm patient. Yes.
personal conversation. Like presently, I'm going.
Louder.
Oh. Okay, I don't have energy.
I'll repeat.
I don't have energy. Okay, I'll try louder. When you do too many things.
So many things.
Too many things.
Too many things.
Too many things. And it seems like everyone says it's mode of passion. When you do too many things, not out of balance, don't sleep enough. And it seems like everything's supposed to be there. So it seems like...
Meaning you can't eliminate something because it's all necessary.
Yeah, it seems like everything is necessary. And
we've had this discussion before.
Yeah. So
what to do?
It's also affecting the consciousness because
yes.
There's a trust. There is you feel tired. Some
yes.
happiness is there. And,
yes. Yes.
And the trust, you're losing trust because you might not manage something. You do this, you do that. Something you might not manage, and everything seems to be important.
Yes.
So it's what to do.
What to do? Well, two things. What to do. I'll tell a little Prabhupada story, but the essence of the Prabhupada story is when your consciousness is fixed upon Krishna strongly, you'll have a focus where you can do the same things effectively in less time. Want to hear the Prabhupada story? Sure. Many years ago, there was a deity installation in Dallas, Radha Kalachandji. And they had begun the worship, and Prabhupada wanted Shilavati to come and train the devotees how to do deity worship nicely. So he sent her there. And then Prabhupada came to visit. And she asked Prabhupada,
She wanted me to water the mridanga.
well, you're not going to play mridanga anyways. He's going to play mridanga.
Yeah, but I water it.
Okay.
Make a little.
Just don't do it now. Okay. Thanks.
My fault, sorry.
Oh, you asked him to do it. Okay, this will be a last question. Then you can do it. So, Prabhupada visited Dallas. Long story short, she asked Prabhupada, can we increase the deity worship by 15 minutes because I can't complete the deity worship in the time that's allotted? And Prabhupada said, I will show you. And so anyone that's done deity worship to some degree knows when you're not familiar with a particular deity, where everything is and so forth, it takes longer. He did it in less time than it took her, and then said, you don't need the extra time. Then he explained, when you're dressing, this is now deity dressing, but when you're dressing the deity, Krishna's standing there. It's not like the beauty is Krishna stands there while you're dressing him. The beauty is you're serving for his pleasure. And so you do it swiftly. And when your consciousness is focused on for Krishna's pleasure, my experience is, not specific to deity worship, but things move more quickly. So when you're Krishna conscious, you're very focused on each of the things that you do, and then you go to the next thing and to the next thing. If you're not focused on Krishna consciousness, simple things take long time, medium things take too much time, and you get into a space like you described. So that's one part of the answer, is stronger Krishna consciousness, please, makes for better effectiveness when you're doing what you're doing. Then another principle of time management is there may be some things that you just need to defer. And we've had discussions about this. Now, those of you that have come to 26 Second Avenue, you know she loves to bake. And those that you go to the Harinam, she loves to bake. The devotees really appreciate.
Yes.
And it gives her energy to do those things. But it takes time to do those things. Although it gives her energy to do those things, and then she gets into this time management space. Because it takes time. Just like, how much time did you spend today to do the baking that you did for today? 4 hours?
8:30 till 3 o'clock.
8:30 till 3. Baking
6.5.
for this evening.
So 3:30 because there was also cutting and all this parking.
You know, so that's bhakti in real life. And that gives her energy. It gives you energy. So, you know, how to do that in such a way that you're not feeling this pinch with all the other things that are part of your life. And it's not, you know, this is Saturday. It's not Monday to Friday. Still, it's just a principle of some things time management teaches. Do things effectively by focused Krishna consciousness. And if it's just too many things, at some point you just decide this is going to fall away. I'm just not going to attend to this. If I find I have discretionary time, I'll take it up. But you just let it go. Easier said than done, but that's the principle. Okay, so it's now way past time for the next kirtan. So, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay. Govinda.